Welcome, everyone, to another edition of Ask Octopus, where we take some of your interesting questions from the week and we do our best to answer them. Joining me today is Ryan and Derek. Hello.
Hey, Bob.
Hey, Bob.
So I got an interesting question this week. It was, can I have Octopus Deploy log to a centralized location? This wasn't a question that came from the community. This actually came from my own head because this was something that's been bugging me for a little while. So I'll walk you through what I mean by this. But I do want to kind of address this a little bit because I think there's some really cool things that you can do with this idea, and I'm going to kind of walk you through that as well. Before we get started, you'll notice at the bottom of my screen it says Activate Windows. I'm working on scripting out, tearing down, and rebuilding all my instances, and so this is just a test instance at this particular point in time. That's why you see that. I just didn't feel like activating. Do you guys have this question as well? Like, do you wish you could have Octopus Deploy log to a centralized location?
Yeah, I've had this before. I had it from customers. I think they were asking about Splunk, which I don't think we natively do. I think that you can forward it from that, but yeah, I had that on. I think there's a way approach using a Splunk forward or something like that. But
yeah,
Same. I've had the Splunk question come up before.
Okay. Yeah, so what we mean by this is, so this is an HA cluster. So if we come here, you can see I have 2 nodes running. And if I come over to diagnostics, you'll see right here it says this Octopus instance has multiple nodes, but the logs below are only from the one node the API sent the request to. So if I wanted to find all the errors, I'd have to go to both nodes. And that can kind of get a little annoying. And then in a previous video, Derek mentioned that if you wanted to switch Octopus servers, you should move over all your logs as well because you want to have that history, and that's absolutely right. But that's just an extra step. What happens if the VM were to crash or you're never to get those logs back again? So I'm going to want to show you what we can do about that. So in the Octopus install directory, see program files, Octopus Deploy /Octopus. If you scroll down, you're going to notice this octopus server.exe, and you'll see it's an NLog file. And what you can do is you can customize this. So if you send in and say, hey, we have performance concerns, we might come back to you and we might ask you to say, could you change this line from info to trace, log for a little while, and then send that information back to us? Well, that's not the only thing we can do because it's NLog. And so what I have done is I've signed up for a centralized logging service called Papertrail. Have you guys ever used Papertrail before?
No, I haven't, but I saw you posted in our channel earlier. I was like, well, I'll add that to my list to check out because it sounds nice.
Yeah, so I'm going to walk you through what that looks like. But basically what I did is I added an assembly into my Octopus Deploy install directory. It's just a copy. It's not a big deal at all. And Octopus Deploy itself doesn't reference it, but NLog is going to reference it. So in this case, I've added this assembly. And then what I've done is I've added this line inside here. And this is coming from the Papertrail documentation on how to use NLog to log to them. And then I added this final line. And so what this will do is I can then switch it up and say, hey, I just want to log trace information up to Papertrail. So when it's all said and done, what it ends up looking like is now my cluster is logging to Papertrail for me. So you can see the same exact logs that are getting logged into your folder on the server itself are now getting logged into Papertrail. And what you can do, what I really like about this is you'll see that I have 2 servers, Octo1, Octo2. Well, with Papertrail, I can create systems. So in this case, I created a system called OctoHA cluster, which has 2 machines associated with it. So then I can come in here and I can click on this. And now I can see all my logs from both the servers at the same time. So I don't have a lot of stuff going on my instance at this particular point. But what you'll see is kind of just like a stream of thought from your Octopus server as it comes in. What's even cooler about this is you'll notice in here, I have set up, I have an instance where I don't have permissions to do a particular action. You'll see this. You do not have permissions to perform this action, missing permission, and then you can actually see that. And what you can do is you can set up you can do some searches on this. So I can just say you do not, cannot type. So I can search for that, and now I can see every single thing in here. I can then come in here and I can save this search if I wanted to. And I've already saved this search in the past, but then I can come in here and I can set up an alert. So let's take a look at what that looks like. So now with my permissions warnings, I have this alert set up, says you do not have permission to perform this action. And when you do this, go ahead and log to this Slack channel. So if I come over here, I have Octopus warnings. So every single time I see this, I can then be notified via Slack that, hey, someone's trying to do something that they don't have permission to do. Is that legitimate? Like, do I need to grant them permission, or do I need to have a talk with them? Like, what are you trying to do?
Like, hey, friend.
Yeah, exactly. What's going on?
Naughty Nigel giving them any trouble.
That's right. But you can also do it with performance. So you'll notice with Octopus, if there's a query that takes longer than, I believe, I want to say a couple hundred milliseconds, that gets logged into your log as well. So now I can start seeing, oh, I have a potential query that's causing a problem. Do I need to add an index? Do I need to rebuild my indexes? Or this might be something that might be worth sharing with support. So we can then take a look at it. This isn't that big of a deal now because it's only 1.2 seconds. So it's not impacting a lot of people. Most people are probably going to notice this, especially since this is a scheduled deployment task. But if this were to, say, start going up to maybe 20 seconds, that might be a bigger deal. But so then you can start being more proactive with what you're trying to do. A couple things to note. When you update your Octopus Deploy server, this NLog file gets overwritten, which is a bit of a pain.
I was going to ask that.
Yeah. So what I've done is I just have a log file that sits out here, an NLog file. And as part of my automated upgrade now, I have a script that just copies it from here and just overwrites that. So force overwrite, because I know everything else is good. And all I had to do is copy in this file once, and that doesn't get overwritten or that doesn't get removed. So it's kind of a nice thing at that particular point in time.
That's pretty nice. I like that.
Yeah, sweet.
Especially the performance tracking. That's really handy.
Yeah, I thought it's a nice way to kind of find out about a bunch of different issues without having to go on to the Octopus server itself. Like you can start setting up a bunch of alerts, these were just a couple of ideas that popped up based on I saw the alerts that were coming in. When I saw these messages come in, I'm like, oh, okay, oh, there's some interesting stuff.
That's really cool. I'm going to have a play with that, Bob.
With Papertrail, we're not saying that you have to use Papertrail. This is just an app that I happen to like. It has a free version, and you only get 50 megs. So if you come to my dashboard, you'll see I get 50 megs of logging per month. And then after that, it will still log, but you won't be able to see that information. Then you have to sign up for that. But you don't have to use it. I'm sure there's a number of different things. As long as you can do it within NLog, I imagine you could do it with your app of choice. So I imagine probably Splunk will probably you'll be able to log. I believe we've configured our Octopus Cloud to log to Seek, all the instances to log to Seek.
Yeah, Seek's really good. There was I think there's the centralized logging in Azure as well now. Mm-hmm. That would work as well. Probably New Relic. So there's a few different ones there that you could probably plug in. Yeah. Like we said, as long as it's you can do it within NLog. I can't imagine why you wouldn't be able to do it. I would still keep all the existing logging. I wouldn't touch that at all because there's a lot of good stuff that still happens. But this is just kind of a good, think of it like I wouldn't say a backup. This could be your primary, and then whatever you log to the actual Octopus server itself, that's your secondary at that particular point in time. So you still have that information, and you have 2 copies of it, basically. All right, that's all I had for this week. If you want to go ahead and submit your own question, go ahead and submit it to us at hello.octopus.com/askoctopus, or you can email us at support@octopus.com. We'll definitely answer your question if you email it to us at support@askoctopus.com, and we might pick your question to answer in one of these videos. If you just want to chat with us, you can go ahead and join us on Slack at octopus.com/Slack. Thank you, Derek. Thank you, Ryan, for joining me today. Thanks, Bob.
Yeah, thanks, Bob.